Hi, Max. I'm so excited for today's episode. We're going to be talking about cybersecurity, and you've been in this for the past, like more than 20, 30 years, I guess now.
Our family has, yes, and me for the past about 15. So, yes.
Wow. So, when we think of cybersecurity, a lot of us have heard the term, but we don't really know like what goes on behind the scenes to actually protect our identity, our personal information. And a lot of us think that maybe this is just for corporations. So, in today's episode, I really want to focus on how everyone, even an individual like me, can learn how to protect their information. With all of this AI and cloud computing and so many other things like deepfakes that are coming out, it's becoming increasingly more important to protect ourselves.
There's a lot of buzzwords out there that throw people off, and people get intimidated by the subject. So hopefully
Yeah.
by the end of this podcast, we can have it broken down for the day-to-day home user versus the small to medium-sized business versus the difference between like a more enterprise security solution. Hopefully we can get a little education for the community here.
Oh, that'll be great. Awesome. All right. So, in our first segment, we're going to do a quick myth versus fact series
Love
where
it.
I'll ask you a question and you just tell me if this is a fact or a myth and tell me the correct answer.
You
Um,
got it.
I'm starting with this because, again, I want this to be a more fun, engaging, and educational podcast. All right. So, the first
Excellent.
one is myth. I'm too small to be hacked. Hackers only target big companies.
I would say that that is a myth, and whether it's $500 or $50,000, um, there's criminal organizations out there that focus on the everyday person on Facebook Marketplace to the enterprise buying, very expensive products for their organization. Everyone is a potential target.
Got it. Myth versus fact. Antivirus software protects me from all cyber threats.
I wish that was the case for the simplicity of everyone's life, but that is not true. There's a lot of people, even in your own individual lives, need to think of security as a tiered approach. That's just one facet in the protection.
Got it. Using strong passwords is enough.
That is no longer okay. Uh, Strong passwords backed by MFA, multi-factor authentication, whether that's for your own Facebook accounts. I'm sure people on the podcast have seen some crypto scams that come through on their Facebook account saying, "Oh, I wanted to break the news to everyone. I am now into crypto mining and I've had all of this success." Like, do you really think I'll pick on a figurative person, Suzanne? Do you really think Suzanne all of a sudden stopped her day job and is now big into crypto? No, her account was compromised.
Okay. Hackers only use technical skills to break into systems.
That is also a myth. They will use you against yourself and your fear. I'll give you an example quickly of I got a call this week from my bank that said my credit card was used at a theme park, Disney in Florida. Well, it wasn't. It was not the bank. I hung up, called the main number, and they said that that was a scam that was going on inside their organization.
Wow. Okay. The next one is cybersecurity is just an IT problem.
That is not. That is an everyone problem. It's the responsibility of the person sitting at the front desk, or it's the person of the CEO in an organization. It is a problem for everyone, not only in organizations but also in your personal life.
Got it. All right, so this was fun. I want to move on to the next segment. But before we do that, I want you to explain to me exactly what cybersecurity is and to what extent we can go to protect ourselves.
Certainly. So think about your day-to-day life. Think about as you're interacting with your kids, your family, your bank accounts, as soon as you wake up in the morning, some of the things that you're doing to start your day. Think about the privacy that you want to kind of hold something close to your vest instead of having things kind of out there in the open. Um, Cybersecurity, you are looking at protecting yourself as well as your loved ones, as well as your businesses from illegitimate people gaining access to that information. Um, with some of the organizations we work with, they have very sensitive data, right? They may have your medical records. For some private equity firms that we're dealing with, they may have the next big deal that they don't want to get pushed out. For some of the government contractors, they have classified information about government agencies. So it really hits different people in different ways. But it's really protecting yourself, the ones you love, your businesses, from keeping your personal information out of the hands of bad actors.
Got it. All right. So, 5 years ago, the conversation around cybersecurity was very different, right? The pandemic hit and everything changed. Remote work started, and then there was an explosion in IT services and mainstreaming of cloud computing. How have these shifts fundamentally changed the attack surface for cyber criminals?
It's given them a lot more opportunities to exploit businesses in the sense of if you don't have good policies and procedures, um, operational items kind of ironed out, that's where the meeting of the minds of operations and IT and finance all need to be on the same page. Um, in today's world, all of those areas that you just mentioned, they're all new vectors for people to potentially break in and get that sensitive data. You've seen a lot of attacks where people will call into help desks impersonating the CEO or CFO or someone high up. It gives more frequency to potential deep fakes of saying that this is Max Sedghi and I'm calling in to reset my password. That disjointedness of like not just walking across the office to talk to the IT person leads a lot more cyber criminals opportunity.
So what is that one big difference you see between the threats which were happening, say, in 2018, 2019 versus now?
The cloud environments and the software that is supporting these organizations, they become the honeypots. So if they can break into a AWS or Azure environment, they're not just going after like one specific company; they're going through the supply chain now. A few years, this wasn't necessarily a hack, but this just gives you an understanding of the implementation um, and scale of when it was, what was it, 6 months to a year ago when the airline industry had a huge like stop flights because an antivirus provider had a fault in their supply chain. It wasn't a compromise; it was just a bad patch that went out. Think about that if someone goes into their organization and kind of flips the script and says it's not a bad patch now, it's a hack, and it shuts down a whole industry for a day, 2 days. Your flight schedule was interrupted during that time. People were extremely infuriated. Thank goodness it wasn't during the holiday season when we have enough challenges. But those are all things that um, that organizations should start thinking about as their supply chain.
I should have probably asked you this in the myth versus fact series, but from what I've heard is that Apple is one company that is so well protected that there can be no viruses or any kind of cybersecurity threats on them. Is that a myth or a fact?
That is a myth.
It is. Okay.
You would be hard to and think about it like this: when someone, the brand credibility, like Apple is a great secure company, but if your older grandparents got a call saying that, oh, this is someone from Apple and we need to reset your Apple ID, okay, are you just going to let them do that? The brand is then flipped because that myth of them being a very reputable company,
Mhm.
right? They're taking that as fuel to the fire for some of the folks that are just everyday citizens that don't really have as much background. Again, Apple is very secure. We work predominantly, at any IT person that you talk to that's actually in the field. This is probably a slightly boring, so I'll fast forward quickly.
Yeah.
But people like many IT people like Windows devices more than Mac devices from a usability perspective.
Got it. All right. And, moving on and following the question that I asked you earlier regarding, what happened after global pandemic and how security changed, what I've noticed is that the nature of attacks have also changed. Earlier it was just viruses. In my 20s, I just heard, okay, there's this virus, buy not an antivirus to protect your computer, your iPad, your phone. Now the nature of viruses has changed to, say, ransom as a service. And then you'll see supply chain attacks. You'll see sophisticated threats via emails. So how do you think this targeted social engineering, and how has all of this suddenly come into the picture? Is it because of AI? Is it because technology is more advanced? And who's the most vulnerable to this? Is this just big corporations or even individuals like us?
There is any dollar is a good dollar for those folks that are trying to break into your personal life as well as businesses. At one point, it was very much like, oh, well, I'm too small because I'm just a small HVAC company that's servicing, everyday homeowners. But the ransoms come into play, and the $100,000 ransom is still a lot of dollars for a small HVAC company, or $100 million. Like, everything's proportional to like an enterprise where like, oh, we're gonna ransom all your stuff. They want you at times to pay the ransom, because when you pay the ransom and then they unencrypt your data, they want to be able to go to the next person and say, look at our Google reviews. Like, we've been very reputable. We've broken into your company. We
Yeah.
have encrypted, but we're bad hackers. But look at our 5-star reviews. Once you pay us, you get all your stuff back. They want the dollars. It's a whole organization, many organizations out there. They don't want to have a bad Google review or Yelp review. They want to be known as, you're giving them the dollars, they're unencrypting your information, and you move forward.
Well, where did all these ideas come from? Like, it wasn't there 5, 10 years back, right? Uh, so where
It's
is this all
true.
coming from?
They want to build a reputation, just like we talked about Apple and that great reputation on their brand. Like, it is a very secure brand. They want you to know if it's XYZ criminals, that they stick to their word after they break in. They want to build brand awareness, just like some of the other companies in the space do, for on the good side of the aisle. They're on the other side of the aisle. However, they want brand recognition, that once they get their dollars, they clean up and they go. They're not about just the one-hit wonders. They want constant.
Okay, moving on to artificial intelligence, we're seeing AI being used to create like these convincingly real deep fakes for scams and personalized phishing emails that are nearly impossible to spot. Like, I get thousands of these a day, and I sometimes I really feel like it's from a real person. Can you walk us through how AI is supercharging the toolkit for hackers? And on the flip side, how are cybersecurity professionals like you using AI as a weapon to predict these kind of things and predict these kind of threats?
Yeah, I'll start with on the business side for this question. So, just as you read in the news all of the new innovations around artificial intelligence being able to make people's jobs more efficient, it's the same. You flip that coin over, and it makes people more efficient doing bad things as well. So they're using similar engines to get the same results in their line of work. So when we think about that on the AI side to protect our clients, there's many tools out there that we evaluate to see what fits best for our clients. Because some things, it's the nice, shiny new toy, but it doesn't mean it's going to be great for your organization. When we see clients rolling out AI inside of their businesses, you need to start with the end in mind, which sounds silly, but like, you need to evaluate this product. And if it's not going to be opening the door for more productivity, I've seen clients purchase an AI tool and say, I'm just going to deploy this and it's going to work. No. We're not there yet. We're not
Yeah.
there yet. Like, we use Microsoft Copilot inside of our business, and over time, we've gained more trust inside of it, but it was very anticlimactic when we first started using it. And a lot of these AI tools also take time to actually fully develop
Mhm.
because it's learning about your patterns and habits and how your data is structured inside the organization.
And can you give an example of how hackers are using AI for, you know, doing this kind of, getting into the systems of big corporations?
Yeah,
Like, apart from just hacking, what are these AI tools they're using?
certainly. So if you'll hear dark web like nonstop when you talk about cybersecurity and things are being bought and sold on the dark web. They also have tools out there now when things are sent to people's phones. Like, this is very like high end, like secret squirrel government stuff, right? But like when they send a text to somebody and they click on a link on their text message phone and now their whole phone is encrypted, or they can go through and they can essentially mirror what's being seen on your phone. Does that happen to the everyday user? No, it doesn't. But does it happen to the Jeff Bezoses of the world? Yes, it can. Um, we won't go down all the rabbit holes that they have to do because they're a very different 1% of the population. But for the everyday um, for the everyday business and how AI is being used against them. I don't think we've even touched the tip of the spear on how AI is really being used for bad right now, if that makes sense. It's going to get even more powerful. It's going to be going through and being able to have a whole conversation like we're having now to impersonate someone. There's going to be other tools that are going to be put in place to protect end users. And again, this is mostly on the business side. Um, there's going to be more as the bad guys get more ways to kind of break in. The good guys have to come up with ways for AI, which is good. I mean, it's good for our organization because that keeps us in business. As the bad guys keep getting
Bigger.
more intelligent, we have to stay up on current threats as well.
Got it. And with our data on social media and multiple like websites, that store our data in their database, I personally feel that like we've kind of already lost the battle of trying to protect our information. It's all over. Everybody's information is all over.
It is sad but true. And how many quizzes have you seen people post on your Facebook be like, I just took this personality test? It's like, you just gave the answers to like what was your dog's name, your first dog's name, and that's the
Oh, wow.
XYZ turnout. So you go through those quizzes on Facebook, or like you think it's an innocent, like, oh, I'm sharing, creating content with my friends. A lot of hackers use those tools to understand more about you specifically.
Mhm.
Where did you grow up? Well, I grew up here. Where was the first street you lived on? I lived here. Okay, now think back. Where, when you're filling out questionnaires for like your top 3 security questions when you set up your bank account, you're like, "Oh, I lived on this road. This was my first dog's name, and this is where the first place I went on a date." And you're like, "Oh, wow, I just have all these questions that I'm literally giving people answers in my Facebook community, not only to my friends, but also to the back end of their database where now they have all this information about you."
I've always wondered, like, who has the time to actually sit and like collect all this information from so many individuals and then, use it to get something else out of it? It just sounds like a lot of work for little. Unless, of course, you're attacking like a big corporation or something. But with individuals, I don't see the point.
Yeah,
So,
it's gets there.
with that question in mind, I want to understand like what is like a practical um, and a quick step everyone can take right now to really take control
Yeah.
back, like take that control back of their personal information. Like, how do you do that right now? If I were to, do one or two things.
Yeah, I think the first thing that you do to protect yourself as an individual is any account that you have, you need to make sure you have multi-factor authentication on. And a
Okay.
lot of these, when you talk about cybersecurity, you don't want to be the least vulnerable. You don't want to have, they're looking for the quick, easy win. If you have MFA on, that doesn't mean they're never going to get into your account, but you're not the least protected person. You need to have complex passwords as well. So don't make it just a single, like we had a client one time that it was just all lowercase, and they were a trash company, and it said dumpster was their password, all lowercase. It's like, that is not secure at all. So we actually ran a scan on the dark web to see, because there's tools out there where you can see, and a lot of credit card companies are now doing this as well. You can put your personal email account in there, and it will alert you if your password has been deployed on the dark web. Is it a foolproof method of like protecting yourself? No, it's just more information that you're like, hey, that password has been burned, right? Like, I've seen it myself. It's like older passwords that I haven't used in many years, but it's been pulled up on a dark web scan. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't use XYZ name anymore, or this collaboration of or combination of letters and names, because it's been used somewhere else. So I would say set MFA up, look at your credit card company, see if they have any free resources for your email accounts to be kind of scanned on the dark web. And then the third item, I would for social media, I would stop taking those silly quizzes that are out there and try to make your profile a little more private. Yeah, sure, have your name out there, have a picture, but don't have your name, I went to college here, I went to high school here, I went to lower school here. Like, all of those things can then build a profile around who you are as a person that hackers can then use. So they type your name in, and they use the AI tools to scrape all the data around you and put it in one very concise report, and then they can start trying to break into your accounts.
Okay, that's great advice. Uh, Moving on, what do you think is the most overlooked cybersecurity risk that businesses face today?
The biggest thing for them, for businesses in general, is understanding what your disaster recovery process would be if someone does get in. You want to always not have them get in, right? You want to have antivirus, you want to have MFA, you want to have, and I'm not going to push any specific IT boring product, but like, you have all these products out there.
Yeah.
But as business owners, you want to know if something, God forbid, something bad happens, how do I restore my data?
Yeah.
How do I make sure that I don't have to pay the ransom? How do I make sure that I can continue operations? A lot of that goes overlooked because they're like, I'm too small of a business to be affected by this. It's like, no, you're actually not. $10,000 for a small business is still, $10,000 to someone that maybe a lot of hackers are in underdeveloped countries. So like 10 grand is 10 grand. Like, that's actually 100 grand in their eyes, right? It's important to kind of understand that you are at risk. And if, God forbid, something bad happens, what is your disaster recovery process? And also talking with your team about it. We do a lot of tabletop exercises with our clients where we actually take in fake situations. And how are you going to work through this process? Because I can tell you, the worst time to have those conversations is when something bad is actually happening. So you kind of have a playbook and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these 5 people on the phone. We're going to work through the plan and we're going to execute, versus like finding out who's doing what. Like, everyone needs to know their role in a cybersecurity incident. And that's really helpful in those tabletop exercises and incident response plans.
That actually is a great segue into my next question. What is the zero trust policy? Because sometimes, we overlook our employees and our vendors and our business partners, thinking that they can't do it. Like, there's no risk involved with these people, right? So if you could talk a little bit about the zero trust policy, and also explain how these very close connections can sometimes be like the biggest culprits in posing a cybersecurity threat.
Certainly. So zero trust is one of those buzzwords that has been around for numerous years. And when people think through, they kind of get overwhelmed. But the easiest way to think about it is verify everything. So if you're trying to gain access to a certain system, I need to verify who you are. Just because you're in the office doesn't mean you can get on the server. It's not just, and a lot of times it's a password backed by a second factor of authentication based off of the device you're using. These three factors allows you to get on. Some companies have very, very strict policies, like some of the private equity firms we work with. Is very evident that zero trust is very important to them. However, some smaller organizations, we're just happy if they have a firewall. In our business, we really like to meet people where they are and put them on a proper path because everyone's budget is significantly different. And that's one of the benefits of working with our organization on the business side. With ICSI, we're kind of coming in and meeting you where you're at and putting you on a roadmap to better understand and take the buzzwords out of it. Because when we have conversations, we're not really bringing up zero trust. We're talking with you about your specific business needs and then structuring it in the background.
You mentioned a great point that we talk to the people about and we educate them and give them like these um, fake scenarios, just to educate them. When you are doing these drills within your own company, do you also have a similar plan for your clients? Are you providing training materials? Are you speaking to the employees for your clients? What is your process like?
It's yeah, that's one of the best things that you can do for your organization is continuously train them. And that's really a team up. Like IT should never just be on an island by itself. They should be empowered with the HR team and operations to make sure that communication is being um, sent to the employees and that they're actually getting cybersecurity training on what's happening in the market. Um, it's funny, we take it as somewhat of a pride here inside of our company on all of the cybersecurity training that we do. And people are very competitive on what their scores are on the trainings. So there's a board, people can see what my score is, what other executive scores are as well, because it's all very important to have that type of transparency. And it's gamification as well, right? It's not just like I'm sitting here taking this boring cybersecurity training.
Yeah.
It allows us to better help our clients. It allows us to better protect our critical IT infrastructure that we're supporting. And as you know, it changes. IT security threats change like on a daily basis.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right, to end things, Max, this has been such a great session. I want to know if cybersecurity had a superhero, okay, what would their powers be?
If cybersecurity had a superhero, I think it would be a mix of intelligence, adaptability, and then like surprisingly lightning fast reflexes, because you need to kind of take all three of those into account if you're a cybersecurity superhero, being able to kind of shield against cyber attacks, think fast on your feet, and having seen a lot of experiences. I think a lot of folks at ICSI, like as I'm running through these people in my head, that's what they do on a daily basis here for our clients. They're constantly evaluating, protecting. And IT is not the sexiest thing in the world at times. People are like, "Oh, you're in IT," and they get very bored, right?
Yeah,
However, it's a very important part of your day-to-day life and it's not going anywhere.
got it. Well, this was such a great session, Max. I have learned a lot about cybersecurity, and I hope the listeners can take something away that's going to make a difference in protection of their data. Thank you so much. And I will be adding your email and website link to the podcast at the bottom. So if anybody wants to reach out for advice or help, it would be great if you could support them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have constant like weekly IT security tips that come out on our LinkedIn. And any businesses out there that are looking for kind of a fresh IT assessment, we kind of meet our clients and potential clients where they are. At the very least, we can have a conversation about where they are in their business and potentially how ICSI could help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. If this is of any interest to you and you've learned from this cybersecurity podcast, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you would like to get in touch with Max, his email address and website link is at the bottom in the comment section and description section. Until then, this is Rishanka Jones signing off.